Oh, oh no.
We are
Oh
live.
dear.
Everyone can see how
Oh,
embarrassing you look
oh.
right now. Everyone laugh at Elizabeth.
No, don't laugh at Elizabeth. Oh, oh dear. Third glove. Okay.
I just want everyone to know I gave Liz a good lead into this. I gave her a good head start. 2 minutes, she gave me the thumbs up. And then said, oh no, I need to do everything before this starts. Oh.
I wanted to get a straw for my beer, and then everything fell apart all at once because I realized I haven't done anything. Okay, I'm all good for audio, so that's good.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Good, oh good, okay. All right. Hello everyone, hello. Welcome to the Pinfall Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Elizabeth, and...
Oh, I thought you were saying my name. I am Charles. I'm your co-host. Today I'm Charles. Yesterday I was Mark.
Sure?
Yeah. Tomorrow I might be Jeremy. Who knows? Maybe Chuck.
Alright. Sure. It's Friday. It's Friday, the day before Independence Day. Thank God it's not actually Independence Day, because I don't think we would be able to do the podcast today.
Too many fireworks.
Pretty sure we would be interrupted. Yeah. Oh, Smackdown did better.
It wasn't a very eventful day. Even like the very eventful stuff that happened wasn't super exciting. Like, we'll get to the specifics, but it just, I feel like SmackDown's kind of lost its traction.
So, in honor of the toast to Jeff Hardy, I wore Amos' shirt. I bought a beer that's very, very big. You can tell because my palm. There's the beer. It's thick. Amos and I are both Liverpool fans, so I thought that I'd get the beer that is currently one of their sponsors. Turns out the only way to get a tall boy of Carlsberg in the city is by buying the largest can of beer you've ever seen in your entire life. That's where I'm at today.
What I'm doing to commemorate for the toast of Jeff Hardy is got some Starbucks and a Mets hat. Nothing to do with the toast,
yeah, exactly.
But
I have a cat in here now. She matches my shirt, actually.
She matches both of our shirts, actually.
I'd love to show her. There's her tail. Oh. Yeah. Good job, Pete. Spirit. Just like looked back at me like, I don't know you. So we started tonight with Riddle. Kind of out of nowhere. Very, very, very out of left field. And I don't really... I guess the purpose was to kind of like introduce him further into the Smackdown brand. It basically started as an interview with Michael Cole and why Matt Riddle doesn't wear shoes. Because apparently he got frostbite when he was a child because he took a vacation in Wisconsin and decided to go between playing in the pool and playing outside in the snow, and then frostbite, and apparently the doctors almost had to amputate his legs or his feet or something. His tootsies, as he called them. And that's why he when he wears shoes now, it hurts too much, so he wears flip-flops.
It gives him that same tingle that he felt when he had frostbite.
Real. So got that exposition, whether it's true or not. I mean, I could kind of see it being true, I guess, but
I don't care either way.
Yeah, honestly. There was never a point in my time of watching him where I was like, I wonder why he doesn't wear shoes. Like, well, I'm sure it's just got better traction when you're a grappling wrestler like that, but
Why does King
That's the
Corbin
point.
think he's a king? Like,
Which, speaking of, it's so convenient that you mentioned him.
oh,
Corbin comes out.
what a coincidence.
um, Corbin, our true ally, comes out. He says that Matt Riddle was an idiot as a child, which is really fair. He
Yeah.
called Undertaker a bag of bones.
Yeah, also fair, also fair.
Old. And said that Matt Riddle needs to learn some respect. So Matt Riddle immediately is like, "Oh, fine, I'll fight you right now. I'll fight you. Who cares?" Corbin's like, "Ah, it's not gonna be me, buddy. It's gonna be John Morrison." Which I think is just because I don't think Miz and Morrison have much else to do because Braun's distracted at this point, and tag teams are all doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Um, there's a soft spot in my heart right now where I'm like, regardless of what Matt Riddle may or may not have done, I'm glad that I get to see somebody kick him in the face. And that leads into our first fight of the night, which is not our fight of the night TM trademark, but our first fight for the evening. Matt Riddle versus John Morrison, which was a haul. That was a long haul of a fight.
It was a doozy.
It was absolutely a doozy. Corbin on the mic, just in himself, and I kind of like when he's on the mic. I think that he has the proper degree of being respectful despite his character and being pumped up. Also, he looked really tired tonight.
Yeah.
The camera would cut to him at certain points when he wasn't even talking, and he'd just be sitting there like,
You know, I think everything going on with WWE, I'm sure every wrestler is very tired, except Jeff Hardy.
a
But
wrestler who should be tired.
regardless of Matt Riddle winning this fight, I think this whole fight was for John Morrison to just show off. That's basically
Still
what
my
it was.
spoiler.
Who's gonna care? Like, who's watching this and being like, "Oh, I didn't see the whole episode. Oh God."
I needed Elizabeth to tell me. But Mark's told me it doesn't count. No, I think this was a great opportunity for John Morrison to get to be Johnny Drip Drip without the added like weight of Braun Strowman potentially separating his head from his spine.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not seen a more bipolar match in my entire life. I don't think there were points where Braun did stuff that either looked like it hurt like hell or it was so impressive that I couldn't like stop myself from like gasping. And then there were points where it looked like they were wrestling in halftime. Like it looked like they were like choreographing the moves as they went.
Yeah, I noticed that like both Morrison and Riddle were like taking very slow steps to do their moves.
Like there were points where like maybe John was like going for an elbow and he'd like step and just be like,
yeah.
I was like, I see you connected with him, but like about the same speed that like maybe I'd like take the cat and move her off the couch or something.
Which I think that's kind of a good way to sum up today's episode.
Yeah.
Just like yeah, I don't really know how to describe it, but some, I don't know, messy, I guess. Messy, a little clunky in parts.
Clunky is a very good word for it.
Which
I mean,
I just want to say, which sucks because John Morrison is probably one of the most incredible fighters that SmackDown has at this point. And then Matt Riddle is a star that they really need to show off right now, or that they're really trying to, but when they have moments like this, it's hard to.
Also, I'm sure they're pretty conflicted right now. Um,
I'm sure Vince McMahon does not care.
well, so I'm not going to recap the whole thing, but the media coverage on the whole Matt Riddle saga has sort of kind of dropped off at this point. Um, I don't think that Vince McMahon cares per se. I think cares is a very large word for how Vince McMahon probably feels about the drama that's happening or the allegations that are being placed on his wrestler. At the same time, it is a public image kind of thing, and like, don't want to mess with your public image too much, especially because wrestling has kind of started. Bless your soul, sir.
Thank you.
Wrestling has kind of started being, I wouldn't say in equal parts, but has started angling itself a little more towards like younger, like more open generations, I guess.
NXT definitely. I think Raw and SmackDown are gonna follow suit soon. But the way Triple H is leading it definitely seems like it's more in touch with society than Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown more so.
And the fact that Iggy and Kofi, I think there was a sorry. I think there's an article I read recently saying that like it's 100% encouraged, or not really encouraged, but supported, I guess, Kofi and Big E taking a knee before their matches. Which, who knows how encouraging he was.
Yeah. There's a difference between like a wrestler doing something and being encouraged to, and then there's purposely like creating a moment in the writing to do something.
And I don't think that their expression was like written.
Right.
I don't think that was in the writing. I just think that regardless of if Vince believes that he should be doing X, Y, and Z about whatever issue is happening right now, that happens to coincide with his brand, I think he cares about making as much money as he possibly can. And so he'll like, oh boy, so-and-so may have inappropriately touched someone. Let's get that out of here. So I don't know what's happening with Matt Riddle. But that being said,
well, just one more thing. I just think we haven't heard much about it right now. Although the media does tend to just forget things because it moves so fast in this 24/7 cycle. I think that we're kind of in the phase in that development where everything's being handled privately by lawyers and estates and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think things, especially like self-driven movements, as far as like speaking out is concerned, my own experience with stuff that happened with the college that we both went to, there was a week where like everything was coming out. It was like every tweet I saw was like somebody from my department in school saying, oh, this thing happened to me from this person. And then a week passed and we were like, we've all kind of just gone back to normal. There's like a couple like retweets here and there of like, hey, this was crap, huh? You know, I think that typically with self-driven movements, when there's not like a big figurehead at the top of it or somebody to pin everything on at the top of the pyramid, like there was with Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement, I think those things can fizzle out. And I'm sure because Matt Riddle had lawyers on it from like the get-go, at this point there's nothing for anyone to report on. But I've been keeping a pretty good track on most of the stuff that's been happening, especially with Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, that kind of stuff, just because it sort of affects our podcast. It affects like how we report things. And I checked it tonight before, as Matt Riddle was coming out, and there's nothing. It's just, oh, Matt Riddle was going to be interviewed by Michael Cole on SmackDown. So,
and I'm sure his lawyers are also going to push Vince McMahon to keep him in the SmackDown episodes and not have them do what they're doing with Velveteen. What's going on?
The cat's just staring at the wall.
She's just vibing.
Oh no, she sees a dent in the wall and now she's trying to kill it.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Let's back on track here, because we talk about this all night. Sadly, that is not our podcast. I mean, John Morrison, we haven't really gotten to see John Morrison against someone that he's equally matched against in a while, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why tonight I think was so exciting, because he wasn't fighting a Goliath. There were so many drop kicks, and we were just talking last Raw about how much I really like the crossbody slam.
Mm-hmm.
John Morrison said, "Oh, like a crossbody slam? All right, let me raise you a corkscrew crossbody slam." I said,
okay. I remember when Corey Graves said the name of that move, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna mention that later."
I really like. There's something about a crossbody slam that I really like watching. For John Morrison to also be like, "I'm going to twist in midair" to add to the effect, which just like, again, blows my mind. The fact that because after a certain point, Riddle got tossed out of the ring. He picked up one of his flip-flops, which he had kicked off. I guess those don't count as shoes, and he's able to wear those without pain. He went up and smacked Corbin with it, which King Corbin was not interested in. So then we not only had The Miz standing ringside screaming his head off, said Corbin, and I know Corbin's a heel. Every time Corbin does something, I'm like, "Hey, good job, Corbin."
I think we just desperately want him to do something at this point. We want him to accomplish something.
I think that he's getting a Sheamus storyline right now where it's like, because they did so well with the Sheamus storyline of him being like, no one like respects me, blah blah blah, and now they're doing the same thing with Cesaro and Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fine with it because I think I like both of them. I want to see them do something special. There's a lot of faces holding titles right now, and I think it might help to have another heel that isn't Bayley and Sasha holding a title.
Yeah.
But I just, aside from the fact that there were a lot of things that like looked like neither Riddle nor John were like there mentally, aside from all of that stuff, I was not that impressed by Matt tonight. I was blown away by John.
Yeah. Because I think, I don't know, this was definitely John's time to shine, but Matt Riddle obviously had to win, because it's his come up, it's him proving himself, it's him against the world at this point, the wrestling world, not the real world. But yeah, definitely John Morrison was way more exciting. Probably the most exciting one of all today, but we'll get to that later.
All right. All right, sure. Oh, I can make my just totally disappear. Anyways, so after that fight, which I think was a great way to start the night.
Yeah.
I feel like every night I need to be like I say this one phrase multiple times, take a shot. It's going to be, I think. Oh, I didn't even talk about the end. So, Riddle pins Morrison, and whatever. As you said, it was kind of to be expected. AJ comes out of nowhere to attack him, and for once in my life, I was like, AJ Styles! Yay!
And then we promptly said, the Earth is a sphere.
The Earth is a sphere. Feet are flat.
I know.
Then I just think they make some points. After AJ comes out to attack Matt Riddle, Drew Gulak, which I hate that like Matt Riddle has to be aligned with Drew now because I love Drew. I hate Matt Riddle.
They've been aligned since before he was even on NXT. They've been sort of in a group together for a while, so I guess it's kind of expected.
Yeah. And they have the same wrestling style. It makes sense. But AJ comes out and beats up Matt Riddle, and Drew comes out and beats up AJ, and I wish he hadn't exhausted all that energy because, as we learn later on, needed it. After that, though,
wouldn't blame that on the loss of energy he got from taking on AJ or attacking AJ, defending Riddle.
Kat's in like a catatonic state right now. I don't know what's going on with her.
A catatonic state?
I like poked her and she sneezed. After that, we got Morrison and Miz and King Corbin backstage. And our lovely Sarah, who's filling in for Renee because Renee is sick because of Vince McMahon.
But she wrote a cookbook.
Which, frankly, if I can cook the same recipes that she might cook for Jon Moxley / Dean Ambrose, or vice versa, I will be buying that promptly. I might not have anything to do for the next 3 weeks. Why not? Gonna be cooking like Renee Young. But we had John Morrison yelling at sweet temp, I think she's a temp, Sarah, for interrupting their conversation with each other. I'd love Corbin because he's like, no guys, calm down. And then goes to answer her question, is just like, basically says, I'm going to kill Matt Riddle. He said that he's going to make sure that the legs get cut or knocked out of his little career.
Oh god.
He said it in such a gentle way too that I was like, okay. Whatever you say, buddy.
What's the name of the Miz and Morrison's show? Not Miz TV, the other one.
Dirt Sheet?
When do we get Dirt Sheet back? I want Dirt Sheet so bad. The last
we have enough to talk about right now.
The last they had of Dirt Sheet was when the Mandy, Otis, Sonya, and Dolph drama was happening.
Because we had Miz TV more recently than Dirt Sheet.
Yeah.
Let's see. I looked up the Dirt Sheet Miz, and people also asked, are the Miz and John Morrison friends? By people also ask, they mean me. I want to know. I don't know. We'll have to look into that because I feel like maybe we got spoiled with it. I think maybe they just didn't do it as often.
Yeah.
The olden days. By that I mean a couple months ago. Oh.
Yeah, but like you said, there might also not be like as much going on that they can cover right now.
Yeah, because I mean, they mostly covered SmackDown stuff, and as we have been firsthand privy to, there's not that much happening in SmackDown right now. So
right.
Might have to wait out until after Extreme Rules.
And the last thing that WWE needs right now is for wrestlers to be meta and sort of making fun of themselves.
Actually, I didn't even think about that. Right now, I feel like one big thing that they could talk about is the fact that Renee is seriously absent from backstage, and I wonder why. Suddenly everyone's wearing face masks. And
Sheamus isn't there, Daniel Bryan's not there, nobody's there.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, things got horrible and WWE kind of stayed somewhat the same, except for just not having crowds. WWE which weirdly didn't impact my experience of watching it as much. And then things kind of started getting better with the pandemic, and by better I mean like it started controlling things. I was like, oh, sweet. So like somehow, by the grace of God, WWE rode this one out. It was fine. But as things have been getting better, sort of, have been getting so much worse for the WWE, and it's...
I wouldn't even say it's getting better. We've reached the peak again.
Perfect timing, by the way.
It's okay. We both tested for the coronavirus, and we're both negative. So
negative. Within our tests and in our lives.
Even my glass is always full. Even when it's half full, it's all the way full.
Nice spin on that.
That's the exact quote.
Oh, it's even if my glass is all the way full, it's half full.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
you took the optimist spin on that.
I should have
the nihilist spin on it.
I should have run with it. I should have run with what you said. Oh no.
You should have.
I'm a fool now.
A fool in a man's shoes. Oh yeah, no, it's just kind of one of those weird things where it's like obviously I'm not an idiot. I know things are still an absolute nightmare in this country that we live in. I'm sure that they are not getting better anytime soon because, we walk outside every once in a while and we see what it's like out there. So it's impressive that they lasted this long without any interference.
Yeah.
That being said, we had, after The Miz and Morrison and Corbin backstage, we had AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak title match for the Intercontinental Championship, with Daniel Bryan phoning in via Zoom. Did you just burp?
No, I groaned.
Oh, okay.
Because this fight was...
It cut out just a little bit.
This fight was incredibly boring. And...
It was sad.
It was sad. It was boring. It was a result of poor planning by WWE. Drew Gulak did not show up. AJ Styles was just textbook AJ Styles. They didn't even announce it was a title fight right before the fight. They just dove right in.
Yeah, we didn't... I just learned, because I don't pay enough attention to anything ever, that their person I have been calling the fancy announcer, for literally every title match that we've seen thus far, learned that he has a name. It's Mike Rome. And if anyone's watching this and has been watching WWE longer and more involved than I have been,
which is 90% of WWE's viewers,
they're probably being like, oh no, she's an absolute idiot. Okay. Good to know. But yeah, Mike Rome wasn't there to announce it. We knew it was a title fight because it had been advertised as such, but
it wasn't like hyped up in the moment as a title
fight.
It
wasn't like the lights didn't dim down, and like it wasn't like Mike Rome like, ladies and gentlemen. And every article I read about this said like, oh, this is like a really big thing for Drew Gulak. It's a big chance for him to have like a standalone match, solidify himself as a character in some ways or another, and to just be like his own person in the WWE and not just like somebody's manager or somebody's like enemy or whatever. And we've paid enough attention, like Mark and I have paid enough attention to Drew Gulak to have our own opinions about him and to like him enough that like we watch his streams and we've watched his matches and been interested in him as a person just because he's got a nice character, I guess. I think we're just drawn to nice people in the show. I say as I fawn over King Corbin.
Yeah, King Corbin, Seth Rollins. What other heels do we love?
Bray Wyatt.
Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph was canceled. We're not
Dexter Lumis.
Oh, Dexter. Timothy Thatcher.
Karrion Kross.
We like Scarlett. Karrion still scares me.
Still a heel. Still a villain.
But I think it's easy to be drawn to someone like Drew Gulak in the same way that we're drawn to someone like Daniel Bryan, because they seem like really nice guys. Like, it doesn't seem like they're pretending to be nice. It seems like they are good people.
Yeah.
And I know that Drew hasn't had a ton of time, especially recently, to show himself off, to solidify who he is, to come back after his faux retirement. That wasn't even like a Rey Mysterio faux retirement. It was just he fought Daniel and then suddenly was the alumni list, and we were all sitting there like, we weren't told about this. So for this to be built up in a lot of different articles is like a big match, a big deal for Drew Gulak. I keep wanting to say Drew McIntyre. This to be built up as like such a big deal for Drew Gulak. It was hard to watch him just get decimated.
Yeah.
We did get to see one really nasty Drew Gulak drop kick through the ropes into AJ Styles' face, and AJ Styles like went halfway to Orlando.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see any nice grappling, any arm bars or any typical wrestling moves. There was one, I don't even know what you'd call it. There was one move where he had him pinned down, but not like a pin, just pinned, and that was, yeah, like I said, Drew Gulak was non-existent today.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would be this disappointed in the match itself if it weren't for the fact that we saw AJ fighting somebody who does submission style so like just as well, like does grappling just as well in Daniel Bryan. We saw that match, and that was a really good match.
And then this is the guy that coached Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and we also the fact that we the Drew Gulak AJ Styles match that preceded Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match was also really good, because we got to see AJ doing a similar technique to Drew.
Mm-hmm. And also this fight was postponed, creating even more lead up to it.
Exactly. And like I just feel like if we didn't have, in my head, you know, Drew and Daniel are kind of the same person as far as fighting style goes. If we didn't have that like reference point of a really recent fight where Drew like decimated the guy, and a really recent fight where Daniel at least put in the work to get him down.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have that, maybe I wouldn't care. But
it was a title fight. It did not feel like a title fight at all.
The only time it felt like that was when Drew drop kicked AJ 4 times.
Yeah, that was good.
Which,
but also, it's just 4
drop
drop kicks.
Yeah, he had so few moves. He had so few opportunities to show off his actual skills. And if every article I was reading was coming from the same vantage point and the same opinion, where they were all saying, like, oh, this is a good moment for Drew to prove who he is, knowing that this is a scripted show.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we saw Drew Gulak out there tonight. It felt like we saw AJ Styles and some guy that was fighting him.
Some enhancement talent.
Yeah, like maybe like slightly better than enhancement talent, but like because the match lasted more than 3 minutes.
Like Bronson Reed level enhancement talent.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, man. I love Drew Gulak so much that it was so, and I don't like AJ Styles at all. So that's why that made this a very difficult thing for me to sit through. And we kind of both talked about the fact that like we thought AJ was going to win anyways because he had the title for
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. No.
3, yes.
Yeah,
4.
3. 3 or 4. 3 or 4. Not 2, because
last week was Undertaker.
2 weeks before that was his induction or his award ceremony. The week before that was the match?
Yeah, it was the match. So a month ago, fought Drew Gulak.
No, he fought Daniel Bryan.
No.
Yes.
Wait.
4 weeks ago was the Intercontinental title fight.
No, because last Friday, Undertaker.
Yes.
Friday before was induction ceremony.
No.
Friday before that.
Well, yeah, last Friday, Undertaker. Friday before that, award ceremony. Friday before that was the title fight.
Right. So a month ago, he fought Drew Gulak.
No.
How are you not following this?
At the title fight was against Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
No, he didn't fight Daniel Bryan the same week he had the award ceremony. That was the week after. He had the awards ceremony a week after the title fight.
Last week was Undertaker. The week before that was the title induction thing. The ceremony, if you will. Matt Riddle's entrance. 2 weeks ago was Matt Riddle's entrance hitting AJ Styles when Daniel Bryan said, hey, when he made Daniel Bryan give him the belt. And then 2 weeks prior to that was the Daniel Bryan fight. Because then there was the Daniel Bryan fight, induction ceremony, Undertaker. Before Daniel Bryan fight, Gulak versus AJ Styles.
Okay.
Drew, Daniel, induction, Undertaker.
Okay.
It made me feel like I was going insane.
I was miscounting.
You could tell. Oh boy. Only halfway through this episode. Can you tell that quarantine has taken a toll on us as people? But let me go back to my original point of this message was, it's been a month since we saw them fight. It feels like it was last week.
Yeah.
Clearly, it feels like it was last week. Yeah, Brian got his finisher. Drew was a dead man, and then AJ did his finisher on Drew. Drew was a dead man. AJ said, not quite, and then jumped on him from the top rope and murdered him to retain his title. I should have expected it. I was annoyed. Wanted Drew to have a better night than he got. I'm sure that is not the last we will see of Drew Gulak. I'm sure that we will see him very, very soon. I hope that we also see Daniel Bryan in the flesh very, very soon, but it needs to be seen. After that, we had a confusing moment. Me, at least. Bayley and Sasha came out. Bayley talked about how she talked on the phone to The Undertaker. The Undertaker said, I don't know why they're making a big fuss about me when you guys are the stars of the show, which felt not like something Undertaker would say.
That's the point.
And then we had to watch an entire tribute to Bayley and Sasha.
Kind of cringy, but
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And frankly, to me, it felt like I was like reading a horrible fan fiction. Where it's like, oh, and then they suddenly gave us a massive tribute because we're so special. But luckily, the moment was saved by Nikki and Alexa, who came out, bless their hearts, to read their own fun facts about themselves. Specifically, one being that Nikki is the Queen of Scotland, which I would believe in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alexa sucker punches Bayley. Sasha says, oh, you want to fight her? Sure. Oh, that's what we got. We got a Bayley and Alexa fight. And I think this might be a good time to mention that I think this was around the time that we found out that...
It was before this, but yeah.
Yeah. Bayley is challenging Asuka At Monday Night Raw, Asuka's title, which, if you've forgotten, which I'm sure nobody has, is the title that Sasha is challenging Asuka for at Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
So,
I want to look up something real quick. I want to see shortest title reign Raw Women's Champion. Let's see who had. Okay, so if Asuka lost on Monday, that wouldn't be the shortest. The shortest was Sasha Banks. She held the title for 8 days. What's going on?
a ladybug.
Yeah, she had the title for 8 days. So Asuka could very well lose the title.
So I would like you to expound on your theory for Raw, because I want to believe it with my whole heart.
All right. So Asuka versus Bayley. Bayley could and then you have Asuka versus Sasha Banks at Extreme Rules. Bayley could beat Asuka, which would suck for us because we love Asuka, but also Bayley would win the title that Bayley would win the title that Sasha Banks wants to fight Asuka for. Which would piss off Sasha because that's the title she wanted, and Bayley just swooped in and challenged 2 weeks before it's supposed to happen, maybe 2 weeks before, and thus making it Sasha having to fight Bayley at Extreme Rules for the title. Personally, I don't. Oh god, it's part of me thinks she's not gonna win just because that would make a mess of things at Extreme Rules, but also why would they throw in that fight and have it be a title fight, be it, unless it's for that exact reasoning of Sasha's gonna fight Bayley. That's gonna be the straw that broke the camel's back.
You mentioned this theory to me while we saw the advertisement, and
I just want to say I've been right about a lot of ridiculous theories before, so.
He's been right about one ridiculous theory.
And it was the most ridiculous theory you could ever think of, and it was right. That sets the bar very high.
Your ridiculous theory about NXT seems to not be right, so we'll go from there on Wednesday. But
there's two endings. There's two endings, as
okay.
EJ and Duca said on Twitter.
We'll talk about that at the end of the episode, because that's something else. That's something else entirely.
Oh God, yeah.
But the moment you said that, it kind of all the pieces kind of clicked together for me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we love Asuka. But I don't love Asuka as much as I love the idea of getting this show on the road as far as the de-evolution of Bayley and Sasha's friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that spurs me a little more. It sucks because they've been really good friends for a very long time, but then Bayley's gotten a big head about everything. No, I don't like them being friends.
The only reason I would be against that is just because who else would Nikki and Alexa fight on SmackDown? There's no other women tag teams in SmackDown.
You could go to Raw, though. The Iconics come to SmackDown. It's... I don't know. All I know is that I feel like there's a big opportunity there, especially because it seems like right now they've got a lot of the female tag teams kind of traveling between brands.
Yeah.
I think it's a big opportunity to finally some gasoline on the fire that is their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it. I think I can kind of see how it would all play out too. I think it would be a goofy and kind of crazy little way to throw a wrench in their friendship. And I think that's what we need. I think that's the only way that they will break up is if something major happens. And a lot of people were saying that they think that they're going to keep the friendship going until Extreme Rules. I've heard multiple people say that now. And this kind of like is that all together in a neat little package. Who knows? You know, Bailey doesn't have her friend anymore. Bailey looks for a new friend. Bailey likes having somebody else beside her. I'm just saying. But then we get the Bailey versus Alexa fight. And sort of another Matt Riddle fight earlier. A lot of like last minute decisions almost.
I wouldn't even say that was like the Matt Riddle fight, because this fight did not even come close to how exciting the Matt Riddle John Morrison fight was. I think this fight was incredibly just boring and just not exciting in the slightest. Like, Alexa didn't show up. Bailey didn't show up. Bailey was just like flailing all over the place. Alexa was not even trying to make any hits. Nikki probably did more than Alexa did.
Most of Bailey's moves were isolating Alexa's hand and like bending her fingers backwards, which personally I would tap out instantly.
It wasn't like wrestling moves. It was like punching, twisting joints, kneeing. The most was when Alexa was in the corner, she just ran into her and slammed her body into her.
And you know, a lot of times there will be distractions on the sidelines that offer the opportunity for another person to pin and in the match, but as much I don't know, I feel a bit hypocritical saying this because as much as I've like hated watching matches that were decided by like cheating, I guess, as far as the rules go. At one point, Nikki, who was standing ringside, Bailey taunted her because Nikki was being annoying. And it gave Alexa a really easy chance to pin her. But Bailey just kicked out immediately. There was no like, oh no, like this distraction technique that usually is like what people fall for when it comes to Bailey and Sasha. Suddenly this like works. There was no reversal for it, I guess. It just Alexa tried to pin her, Bailey kicked out immediately because it wasn't a good pin. And
the match
most we got.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was just gonna say that the most that we got was Nikki basically annoyed Bailey again later on in the fight and distracted her. Bailey then threw Alexa into Sasha, and Nikki came out of nowhere around the corner and just flattened Sasha after this. And then Bailey yelled at her for flattening her friend, and Nikki loses it, gets in the ring, DQs Alexa, which Alexa didn't seem that bothered by because being beaten. And ultimately, she got her against the ropes. Sasha pulled Bailey out, so that they could like proceed.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Alexa Bliss, but tonight was just not an Alexa Bliss night. Just like last night was, or not last night, but last SmackDown was not an Alexa Bliss night at all.
Tonight was not a SmackDown night at all.
It was more of a SmackDown night than last week.
Yeah,
And give it that.
last week was an Undertaker night.
The bar was so low tonight that I was impressed.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, it would have made the fight even the tiniest bit more interesting if the fight had actually ended somewhere rather than just end in DQ.
Yeah. Which kind of annoying. There have been so many times where Bailey and Sasha have physically interfered with stuff happening in the ring, and I've been DQ'd. I know Nikki jumped into the ring, but they could have easily written like a reversal where it's like, oh, Nikki does something sketchy and like pulls Bailey, and now Alexa pins Bailey and she wins, and they're like, oh no, our moves have been used against us. We didn't even get that. We just got Nikki jumping into the ring and then DQing Alexa. I was like, all right.
Yeah, and especially since this is following NXT where Sasha showed up and fought Io Shirai, you compare Sasha in that fight and Bailey in this fight. If it did come down to Sasha versus Bailey, Sasha would destroy Bailey just based on this comparison. Like, it's not even close. Sasha would just wipe the floor with Bailey.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in my head, and this is the other thing that annoys me about their friendship is that for a while, Bailey and Sasha were friends, and then they became a tag team. Bailey and Sasha as friends were two really powerful women pals. Bailey was super talented. It was prior to the Karen haircut. Maybe that's what ruined her. Bailey was super talented. Sasha was super talented. They joined up together, and it just kind of starts feeling like Sasha's super talented, and Bailey's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to separate so that I can see Bailey being just as talented as we know she could be, and we're not getting that. I don't know. The storyline continually blows my mind, not in a good way. I'm so annoyed right now. Okay.
Yeah, but we will see how it develops further on Monday when we get the Asuka Bailey match.
Yes.
The only reason I am really leaning towards Bailey wins and then Bailey fights Sasha at Extreme Rules is because Sasha is probably going to pull some stuff on the sideline to mess with that fight on Monday. And there's going to be nobody to interfere with a fight if Sasha and Bailey are both fighting each other. There's going to be no interference. And if it was Sasha versus Asuka at Extreme Rules, you would have Bailey on the sidelines distracting because it's Extreme Rules.
Horror show.
Yeah. Well, no, the horror show is Braun vs. Bray. That's the horror show at Extreme Rules.
Well, no, it's Extreme Rules Horror Show. That's the name of the pay-per-view.
No, I saw when they pulled up the Swamp preview, it said the horror show at Extreme Rules.
Yeah. The Extreme Rules is called Extreme Rules ... horror show.
Yeah.
That's its thing this year. Yeah.
Okay.
Braun and Bray are surprisingly not the only horror show. And I mean, again, for Extreme Rules, it makes sense. The rules are extreme.
But yeah, it would make a much more interesting fight if Bailey and Sasha were against each other, and it would make a better pay-per-view event than Asuka versus Sasha and Bailey interfering on the sidelines.
Yeah, I would really like to see that. We'll see on Monday. We'll see how it goes, but that'd be pretty jazzy, in my opinion. So after Bailey and Sasha, we had much higher hopes for, as far as the entire thing, I guess. We had Braun and Bray's
Oh God, this was non-existent.
promo for
It was a
we're at the
montage.
swamp.
It was a montage, not a
Yeah.
promo. It
If you
was.
tuned in and your TV was muted, you would have thought that like, oh, Fox is just doing a weird nature special. That's what it felt like.
It was. Oh God, I thought they were gonna do some like tour of the Bray house or something, or we see Bray walking through the swamp or something, but it was literally just clips of random spooky things, and then sometimes Bray showed up.
Yeah.
It was, and they showed clips from Money in the Bank, which, God, we're getting that fight again next week. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Who knows why they showed us clips of it? Because just like when you had a substitute teacher in grade school, they are showing us the replay of the Money in the Bank Braun versus Bray match on Friday, which means our podcast will be shorter again because we've already seen it.
I've never had a substitute teacher play that fight.
More so when a substitute teacher plays you a movie,
Mm-hmm.
Because they have nothing else to do and they don't know why they're there. That's what's going to happen next Friday. Again, like what happened with Undertaker. So, I guess, screw the $9.99 I give them every month because they're just showing the same stuff. Anyways, I don't know. It was, I guess it was a promo. It just was Bray talking with like intercut clips of Braun talking and then clips of Braun and Bray.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
I'm in pain.
There's nothing to talk about here. Let's just move on to the last
Yeah.
fight. Oh no, second to last fight actually.
Sort of, yeah. We then had Kofi Kingston, my sweet poor boy, and Shinsuke. Kofi got a jump on him. Kofi drop kicked Shinsuke pretty quickly into the match. It's important to note that Jessica, Lady Ref number 1, the OG Lady Ref, was the ref for this match tonight. And at one point, Kofi dropkicked Shinsuke twice. Kofi got Shinsuke out of the ring, and then threw him into the plexiglass. Big E came over and was just doing whatever it is that Big E does, cackling Shinsuke's direction. We cut to commercial, I believe. I'm not sure. But Shinsuke basically kicked Kofi in the face. Cesaro, while Kofi's head was kind of hanging off the apron, Cesaro punched him, which riled Big E, went after him, and Jessica, or lovely Lady Ref, tossed Big E. And at first I was like, wait, toss Cesaro too? And she was like, I will, and then toss Cesaro.
I just want to say that Cesaro and Big E were probably the best part about this fight. When Shinsuke was on the ground and Big E was just crouching over him, just cackling, that was amazing. Best part of the fight.
It was really something else. But after that, I mean, we had Shinsuke kind of just beating up on Kofi, and both of them looked kind of tired. Kofi managed to do his like, I'm sure he has a name for the move. He did his like pseudo Superman punch on Shinsuke, and was really rallying in spite of the fact that he was absolutely being dismantled by Shinsuke tonight. And ultimately, Shinsuke kicks Kofi in the face, pins him, and wins. Cesaro comes out. Before we get into what happened after that, I think maybe I'll dive into the rest of the match. Cesaro comes back out, congratulates his friend. was at a table, which I think was very useful because then they had to do the toast afterwards. So maybe it was like,
He was just helping out.
yeah. And it was pretty obvious that like the whole point was like, oh, now Shinsuke is gonna throw Kofi into the table, haha. Biggie comes out and is like, no, I'm not gonna do this. You're gonna leave. And when we first started watching, I was like, I don't like Shinsuke at all. He moves weird. There's something about him that just doesn't seem quite right.
He moves weird. I don't like him.
Exactly. That was my train of thought. I've come around to him. But that being said, I think there's a lot of people because I was trying to read up on him for a while because I didn't really know what his deal was. A lot of people have said that the WWE kind of has failed him thus far. Saying that like they haven't written him as a good character, they haven't made him have enough diversity or like depth to be useful in the ring. And I noticed that because I know him as Shinsuke. I don't really have a heel outside of that. I don't really know anything else. And now that Sammy's gone, it's even worse. I think that the whole point of this is now to like be like, everyone knows Cesaro, everyone knows who he is. I think the whole point now is to be like, here's Shinsuke. You should like him for whatever reason, heel or not a heel, but you should care about him as a person. I don't know. It was a match. It was something that happened tonight. It was interesting to see Shinsuke win. I felt bad that Kofi didn't.
I mean, I see where they're taking the storyline. I'm kind of into it. But we'll see. I want some justice for the New Day. But I also want to see Cesaro and Shinsuke break out as more prominent figures in SmackDown. Give them the spotlight. But shall we move on to the main event? Oh, sorry. What were we going to say?
I was going to say two things. Only four things. But I want to see a lot of the different tag teams have like storylines again.
Yeah.
I'm tired of what's happening lately with nobody having anything interesting to say besides like, this week we're fighting this tag team and we're going to keep fighting them for like the next 4 different weeks.
I mean, say what you will about Forgotten Sons, but they were the closest thing to driving a storyline for tag teams.
Yeah.
They were a tag team heel, at the very least.
Just because Jackson Riker said some stupid stuff doesn't mean that we have to get rid of them entirely.
Keep Cutler and what's his name?
Guy that we always forget, Wesley.
Wesley
I know his
Blake.
name's Wesley.
Wesley Blake.
Wesley Blake. Yes, we're learning. The other 3 things I had to say were that reiterate. This was announced because it was right before the last match of the night. Reiterate, we have Bray and Braun next week. And by Bray and Braun, I mean Bray and Braun for Money in the Bank, because we're not reliving a real fight. Or we're not watching a real fight. We're watching a fight from a couple months ago.
Yeah. It's lame.
And we have Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross versus Banks and Bayley. Which, all right, sure. We've seen it 14 times in 14 different ways. Who cares?
It's not going to affect their storylines in the slightest.
I hope that there's like a little like discord, maybe. But depending on what happens at Raw this coming Monday.
Yeah, by that point, Bayley might be the Raw Women's Champion.
That's absolutely true. Then we do have a tag team title match because the New Day has held onto their titles for a hot minute. Versus New Day and Cesaro Shinsuke. I can only imagine how that's going to go. I think I know exactly how that's going to go. I'm not going to pretend I don't. New Day has had that title for a little bit. I think they've had it for months, maybe. Okay. also turns out to be the name of many, many churches.
The New Day?
Or I just looked up New Day.
Oh.
They've had the title 6 times. And Kevin Owens used to be a member?
Kevin Owens?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Okay. While I talk about this, I just get a very strong vibe that they're going to see the New Day lose.
Yeah.
Shocked at this point. Trying to figure out when they won this title. I'm sure that somebody. Oh.
What?
Dumb. We literally saw this happen. They've had the titles for 111 days. As of February 27th, 2020.
Oh, was that WrestleMania?
No. It was the Super Showdown. WrestleMania 36, Kofi represented the New Day, failed to win the titles back. There was a new challenge because The Miz and Morrison had the titles. You remember them losing the titles in April?
Yes, I do.
Yes. So they've only had the titles since April, but they've had the titles 6 times and are also the hold the record for the longest time that they've had the titles, because they had it for 483 days at a certain point. So I wouldn't be really entirely shocked if they lost them. Mm-hmm. It's only been since April, but you know, it would be a good time for Cesaro and Shinsuke to have their like "we're the best" moment. You know?
Yeah. Especially since they've been begging for respect this whole time.
Yeah. And frankly, I think Cesaro deserves respect. So does Shinsuke, but he well, not sold on him.
Now, shall we move into the main event?
Yeah.
If you can call it that.
That's what you want to call it.
Lasted 10 minutes.
I can bring this closer. We had our toast, Jeff Hardy, and sadly, Sheamus is not at the Performance Center tonight. He was at his house, which I knew because I've watched enough of his YouTube videos to know. Well, actually, maybe not his YouTube videos, but I've seen enough of his Instagram posts to know where his bar is in his house.
That's weird.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. I meant to say I've watched enough of his Instagram. I've seen enough of his Instagram to know that he has a bar in his house.
I know what it looks like. And know the coordinates
I know what
of
it looks
house.
like. I know what room it's in.
The street he lives on.
I'm great at talking. Anyways. So, that was at his home bar, I guess. Which, kudos to someone who works out that much and also has a bar in their house. So, Party comes out, and it was obvious from the get-go that Sheamus was not going to be there in any respect. He told Jeff a massive disappointment and kind of suggested that Jeff drink alcohol because he said that the answer to Jeff Hardy's problems was at the bottom of one of the bottles.
When I first heard that, I initially thought, oh, I wonder what's inside the bottles. I thought something was
maybe
hidden.
Maybe he put a message in one. I genuinely was like, okay, so he just has to smash all the bottles. It's fine.
Well, he did smash one of the bottles.
Oh, but first, most importantly, as I've mentioned multiple times, and as I've represented multiple times, I'm a massive Liverpool fan. Massive Liverpool soccer team fan. I've been watching them for almost half my life now. It's been a long time. Painful long time. Our team just won Premier League Cup for the first time ever. And it's been 30 years since that became a thing. So every Liverpool fan is rightfully losing their shit collectively. And Sheamus is also a Liverpool fan. He has if you looked closely enough at the tiny little image that they had of him tonight, you could see that he had 2 different scarves in his bar, Liverpool scarves. He was excited when we won. I said, yay, I love big Irish man. And then at one point, he referenced the club motto plus the club song, Never Walk Alone, and I think my head nearly zipped off to Mars for like a whole minute. Because not only did my team win, but then they got referenced by my favorite wrestler on my favorite wrestling brand. Smackdown, but like WWE.
How does it feel that your favorite wrestler has been mocking somebody for their alcoholism and their DUIs?
So, let's dive into that real quick, because then after Sheamus goes on his diatribe and mentions "You'll never walk alone," the wonderful and really endearing Liverpool motto, may I say. Love him so much. I could make another podcast about how much I love him. Jeff yells at Sheamus for rejecting his fans to all this stuff and for like rubbing his family's nose and like all like his wrongdoings. And then I had to sit back for a second and say, Jeff, WWE is doing this to you quite literally, not just in like the kayfabe world of like storyline. The real brand that pays you money is doing this. How can you pretend to be angry if in real life you're not? Because I know in real life you're not, because I'm watching it.
He's gonna join Matt Hardy on AEW after his next fight with Sheamus.
Let him.
Let him be with his brother.
I mean, I don't even know if we're ever going to see Sheamus again at this point.
He's just going to
especially considering that we are still... Like, especially because we're still, like, putting on old pay-per-view matches. Which, The Undertaker one, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. Like, it's a massive icon retiring. Or, like, maybe not the way I would have done things, but... Okay, fine. Braun and Bray are still wrestling. I don't know why I have to watch a pay-per-view match of that again. But Sheamus mentions that his bartender, the bartender that was there for the toast, his name is Jeeves.
Jeeves.
Jeeves offers Jeff a lovely little drink, a little glass of champagne, which I'm sure was not actually champagne because Jeff Hardy is actually quite literally an addict. Sure was apple juice, just like I'm sure the pee that he threw upon Sheamus was apple juice. Jeff takes the drink after poor Jeeves holds his arm out for like 5 years. And then pours the drink on Jeeves, smashes a bottle of Corbel on Jeeves, which shout out to the props department because that looked real. It looked like a real bottle of Corbel.
It's probably a sugar glass
and
bottle.
Then But that's what I'm saying, is that they made it look like a real bottle. I've seen enough bottles of crummy champagne in my life. And then swan dives in the way that Jeff Hardy often does onto Jeeves. And looked like he injured himself again. He like swan dived onto the man and then jumped up like, oh!
Poor Jeeves. He did nothing. He was just trying to get paid.
Jeeves was just there for a good time.
He was like, I'm just gonna work this nice job as a bartender, waiter, or something, and I'm sure it can't go wrong. I mean, it's in a wrestling ring. What's the worst that could happen? Suddenly Jeff Hardy is like pouring liquor on you and then slamming his ass on you.
Also, if you've watched enough like baseball like pennant celebrations and stuff, you know that if someone pours champagne on you, it hurts you a lot. The alcohol getting into your eyes hurts. So the fact that Jeeves was like not just like going like, obviously it was apple juice, which I don't know if that hurts going into your eyes or not, but imagine less than something with an alcohol content. I just hope that like in 2 years' time, we're watching NXT or something, we look and we're like, wait a second,
It's Jeeves.
is that Jeeves?
Oh,
I really hope that happens.
if only. If only.
All right.
Shall we move on?
Let's move on to our promo of the night. I am including this in the promo of the night.
There were promos?
I'm going to... Yeah, there were promos, and I'm cutting to the chase now and saying that the toast to Jeff Hardy was my promo of the night.
Oh, God, we're going to
I'm not going to beat around the bush here.
We're going to disagree then. I hated that. I hated the toast. I thought it was having Sheamus call from home was really lame. Although the Liverpool reference was nice. God. Okay, hold on.
It's been 30 years.
Hold on. I need to go through everything right now just to... Because I don't...
What promos are you going through?
That might be my promo of the night just because there's nothing else. The John Morrison, Corbin, and Miz promo. Nothing happened. Sasha and Bailey promo tribute was cringy as hell. Swamp Fight preview was just a lame montage. Yeah, you know what? The toast for Jeeves. I'll do it for Jeeves.
Do it for Jeeves.
It was not great. But it's the best we got today. Honestly.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see them hold off on it until Sheamus was back. But
I don't think that they could have, because they announced it, and I don't think that they announced it before the COVID-19 thing broke out in their brand, I guess, and I don't think that they could have put it off for that much longer without like stirring things up a little bit, I guess.
You know what I think happened? I think that they were originally planning on Jeff Hardy to throw the alcohol in Sheamus's face and smash the bottle on his head, but then Sheamus was like, no, I can't be here with the virus, and said, wait, I know a guy, and then got his friend Jeeves.
I know a guy who will take a bottle to a head.
And
a hard skull.
And that might have been why they threw in the Kofi and Shinsuke, or the Bayley and Alexa Bliss fight, because otherwise they would have had another Jeff Hardy Sheamus fight at the very end as their main event.
I would have sat through that.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess the toast to Jeff Hardy was my promo of the night.
Alright, so let's move on to our fighter of the night. I have a pretty strong opinion on this one.
I feel like
I'd
we're
agree,
gonna agree,
you might not.
but we'll see.
I think so too.
Okay. So, Matt Riddle versus John Morrison. Like I said, this was basically John Morrison showing off. We got to see him like almost at his best if he hadn't taken such slow strides, and looked like he was thinking very carefully about his every movement. I think we would have seen him at his best. Matt Riddle wasn't his best. Definitely not as good as John Morrison. He was just there to take some hits and then get the pin. Drew versus AJ. Drew was non-existent. He was not himself. Maybe he has the virus, who knows. And then AJ Styles was just textbook AJ. Everything we've seen before. Nothing new, nothing flashy, nothing special in any way. I'm just going to skip right over Bayley versus Alexa Bliss because that was not an interesting fight in the slightest. And then you had Kofi versus Shinsuke. Kofi was great. I very much enjoy watching Kofi. But even he wasn't at his best today. We've definitely seen him better. Which is why I think this might have been the fight that they kind of just threw in, just because, I don't know, it was kind of awkward. I mean, it wasn't a bad fight. It was just not impressive. Actually, now that I think about it, the Bayley versus Alexa fight, it might have been the one they just threw in because literally there was not a single wrestling move thrown in. And then you had Jeeves, who I think is the fighter of the night. Definitely, he took that bottle to the head very well. But
Poor
no.
Jeeves.
I gotta say John Morrison is my fighter of the night. Like, there's no
Yay!
contest tonight.
John Morrison was amazing. It was like John Morrison was the only one that like had a cup of coffee beforehand. Just like, I'm here, boys.
Oh god, it's like he filmed. They taped that like at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and then everything else they just shot at like 6 p.m. like after most people had left.
Yeah, I definitely agree with John Morrison. And move on to our fight of the night. What are you thinking?
I think the fight of the night was the internal struggle of Jeeves and whether or not he should serve Jeff Hardy the champagne or not.
Jeeves is all of us.
Or the conflict between Big E and Cesaro backstage after they were both ejected. No, but let's go through one at a time. Matt Riddle versus John Morrison. It was a really good fight for the most part. But like we talked about, you had those moments where it was very awkward and clunky. You had John Morrison and Matt Riddle both taking slow strides, thinking about every move before they did it, and it kind of looked like The Nightman Cometh, that action scene. If they didn't have those awkward moments, then it would definitely be the fight of the night. But then you had Drew versus AJ. Like I said, Drew wasn't there. AJ was textbook. Didn't have the hype it deserved. Didn't have really anything a title fight should have. If you just watch the fight on its own, you would not believe it's a title fight. And we've seen this fight before, like we talked about. We've seen Drew versus AJ, and it was far beyond the quality of this.
Yeah.
You didn't even get to see any of the grappling Drew is known for. And then after that, you had Kofi versus Shinsuke. I don't know if you noticed, I skipped over Bayley and Alexa just because
I noticed.
Yeah. This, it probably seems awful because I'm skipping over the one woman fight. But if you watched, that fight was awful. It was so awkward. It was just really bad in every way. And then you had the Kofi versus Shinsuke, which the fighting itself was good. It was decent. But then you had Big E and Cesaro, who made this fight as great as it was. You had Big E's cackling. You had Cesaro just being the goofy little Cesaro that came out ever since Sami Zayn left. And then you had Cesaro come out after the fight's over, grab a table, and just say, hey, Jeff Hardy, let me set you up real quick. And it didn't have the faults that the John Morrison Matt Riddle fight had. It wasn't clunky. It was it was a decent fight to watch. It was entertaining. It had story elements. It had sort of a pathway. It had the stepping stones to a future storyline, and it had the tracings of a storyline preceding it. So, with all that said, oh, and then you had Jeff Hardy versus Jeeves.
For Jeeves!
But
one follow equals one prayer for Jeeves.
But I think the Kofi versus Shinsuke fight was the fight of the night. Do you disagree? You think it's Matt Riddle versus John Morrison?
I do.
Now I want to hear your reasoning for it, despite the awkwardness and the clunkiness that we saw.
So let me use the Drew AJ fight for context, I guess. I don't enjoy when I watch a fight between people that I know are skilled to a certain degree and can outlast a certain amount of damage, I guess. And that's why I was upset with the Drew fight, because with Drew and AJ, I knew Drew could do so much more. With the Kofi Shinsuke fight, I felt like Kofi. We've watched Kofi so many times now. I feel like I could have seen Kofi do so much more than he did, and perform in such a different way. Whereas suddenly he's being overtaken by Shinsuke, who hasn't really posed a threat to him in a while. And to watching that was like hard, I guess, versus like watching John Morrison, who we haven't seen perform in that like spectacular of a way in so long. I see him out of nowhere. Really, I don't say out of nowhere, but like see him finally get to showcase how impressive he is without The Miz. To remind us of who he was prior to his tag team, which I'm happy that he still got the tag team, but for him to have a chance to show that off was really exciting. Matt Riddle was nothing special, but if we go by like how each person interacted, I mean, Kofi wasn't really that special tonight at all. It's kind of like equal leverage there. It gave me a really big thrill to watch somebody who we've watched for a while, the same way that we've watched Kofi for a while, excel, where Kofi just seemed to be beaten down immediately. And I feel like to say that Kofi and Shinsuke are my fight of the night, it would almost be on par with me saying that Drew and AJ are my fight of the night, because I watch someone who I know is good do well. I watch someone who I know is also very good do horribly for no reason, without any real lead in it. It almost looked like Kofi just like didn't drink enough water today, I guess, or something like that. And that's why that match just kind of.
And you don't think that the clunkiness of the Matt Riddle John Morrison fight is enough to bog it down?
No, I think that while it was clunky, there was enough to outweigh the clunkiness as far as John Morrison's moves and John Morrison's like ability tonight, and the lack of interference from anyone ringside that wasn't prompted to interfere. I think that completely outweighed any awkwardness that may have happened, because I don't think that. Oh, because of the pandemic, I know there are going to be fights that just don't make sense, that just like crop up, because they don't know what else to do. And because it's wrestling, because you have to be safe, I prefer watching a match where it's like a little awkward for a while, but there's like some stuff that like blows my mind. And there was so much that blew my mind. And again, the fact that we got to see someone that we normally only see in a tag team setting to perform in a against someone that like is their equal, as opposed to like Braun or someone like that, or Otis. Get to see John perform against someone who like is technically his equal in skill, and to get to see the John Morrison that we've always known prior to The Miz was really exciting, and it felt like a bit of a throwback almost. And that meant a lot to me, because, I mean, nothing feels normal anymore. Everything's weird. To see something that reminds me of the good old days.
I think there's something we're also not talking about, and that's Jeeves and his involvement in the fight. But no, what we're actually not talking about is Corbin. I think his involvement in the fight, I'm just thinking about it now, I think that's sort of on the same level as Big E and Cesaro having their involvement in their fight. Corbin and The Miz kind of played that same part. So, I will concede. I'll say
Yes!
The Matt Riddle-John Morrison fight is the fight of the night, because you do make a lot of good points.
I hate putting Matt Riddle on our Twitter, but, like, John Morrison stole me. He stole my heart tonight.
So, it will be Matt Riddle. No, not Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle versus John Morrison.
Matt the Riddle.
Matt the Riddle. Alright, so to recap, our promo of the night is the toast to Jeff Hardy, the fighter of the night is John Morrison, and the fight of the night is Matt Riddle versus John Morrison, with help from King Corbin.
Do you want to talk about the NXT thing that happened?
Yes, very quickly, because
tonight.
We are approaching 2 hours.
Oh, talked a lot tonight, huh?
We will. I just want to say the one member of Indus Share. We're not going to give away any spoilers, but one member of Indus Share said on Twitter, in response to somebody from AEW saying how messy WWE has been because of the coronavirus, he responded by posting a picture of the celebration of the NXT title match that's happening. Oh, sorry, bumped my mic. That's happening on Wednesday. And then EJ Nduka responded by saying that there's two endings to NXT next week. And it's a mess.
I say something that I'm gonna make a Mark prediction here.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna try to do it without giving anything. Because first of all, the fact that it was one of them, when I heard about this, Mark told me somebody essentially kind of said, like, someone who's kind of up and coming in NXT mentioned it. There's so many fireworks and it's like throwing me off. And then to find out that it was one half of Indus Share was like really crazy, I guess, because they just started coming up in the ranks. They just started getting introduced and fighting enhancement talent. So that was a big whoopsie in my head for them. But that being said, I just wonder if, regardless of the outcome, maybe a little hourglass comes into play.
Yeah.
Maybe someone flips the time around. Because if you've ever watched Harry Potter, and I don't remember this part of Harry Potter well, so I could be totally making stuff up. I know Hermione had this thing called Time Turner. And, like, I think it looked like a little hourglass, like on a necklace. And if she wanted to like reverse time, like basically add a couple hours to her day so she could study more or less, she would like flip it or something. I don't remember, but like All I know is that it was basically like an hourglass on a necklace, and it helped her more time in a day, or to reverse time while still having the knowledge that she had of like the current moment. So I'm just kind of wondering if maybe the hourglass comes into play here, and maybe Mr. AJ or EJ?
EJ.
EJ. Maybe he's right. Maybe there's two endings, and maybe one involves an hourglass.
We'll see. We'll see on Wednesday. But first, we have Raw on Monday.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot going on Raw. I think. Actually, I really don't know. We just have
Bayley and Asuka.
That's all we know. And going into a 3-hour episode with only one announced match feels a little stressful.
I'm sure more will be announced before then, but
we'll see. But catch us on Monday. We will be back here as we always are. Talking about Raw. Maybe I'll wear my Seth Rollins shirt again because this is. I have one shirt from NXT that's coming to me. Maybe I'll happen Wednesday, but
maybe I'll wear a plain shirt like this next time. Who knows?
I've made it my mission to have a shirt that I can wear for an NXT match, a Raw match, and a Smackdown match, and I've purchased so many shirts from WWE's store that I finally was like, can't keep doing this. And I finally bought a shirt from Finn Balor's clothing line. So that should be here on Monday. I will not wear it Monday because I know my brands. But yeah. So Monday we have nothing planned at this point, but hopefully something new is going to come up. Hopefully something exciting. We will be here at 11 o'clock. And we will hope for the best at this point.
Yeah. I mean, besides NXT, WWE's a mess right now.
Yeah. Quick blister update is still blister.
Oh, nobody needs to see that.
Still a blister. That's all. That was my blister update. I buy daily, my bi-weekly.
All right, before you scare off everyone, follow the podcast on Twitter at the Pinfall Cast. Follow the stream so you stay up to date with it whenever we stream. Maybe we stream without announcing on Twitter. You'll find out by following us.
Literally never happens.
Don't say that because then they won't follow the stream. Follow
the stream.
Follow our individual Twitters. I'm at Mark Milkdud, MARC Milkdud. And there's nothing to point at. There's no handles.
Above me.
Yeah. Pointing at me. Okay. And then follow Liz, who's at Eliza Elaine 23 on Twitter. And that covers it.
One day Mark and I are both gonna get haircuts.
One day. You can't tell my hair because I'm wearing a hat, but
Mark's hair is really long. My hair is usually here. Maybe one day you'll see that too.
Yeah, we'll stream.
Stay tuned.
We'll stream the haircuts, probably. Maybe not. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you on Monday.